Ladies and gentlemen, box scale model kits. And one of those, now, before everyone starts banging on the computer and tell me, they're like specific scales, I understand that. I too love my scales. Consistent scales, I understand, but there is the thing about box scales that just has a special, I want to say, place, especially in the model building world. Box scale, if you don't know what box scale is, just overall view, it's basically a kit that's basically the size of the box. Now, growing up, before I started delving deeper into the history of model kits, it always sounded like they built the box around the actual kit. And I was like, well, that kind of sounds good at the time. Of course, that was in the 70s and 80s. But later on in life, I was like, man, box scale. Why do they have odd scales? Like, for example, this is Revell's old B29 that Atlantis bought the molds, and now they produce it. This is like 1/128 scale, not quite 1/144. The standards type scales, 148, 1/72, 35th, and so on. But it's 1/128. You'll have to forgive me on this one. This is Revell's Atlantis B24, and it's like 168 scale, something like that, or 160, 64th. It's not quite 1/72nd. The scale's off. There's just not enough. There's no aftermarket for it. Even the decals are hard to find in these odd box scale type sizes. Military wise, you got your planes, especially in the ships. And I didn't bring one over here. Ships were notorious. They're not like 1/350. They're like 1/287. Just weird, odd scales. The Scorpion here. If you where did I see that at? See, it's 1/40th scale, not quite 1/48. Revell's old military kits, they were not quite 1/32nd, not quite 1/35th, kind of in between. But I was like, well, why? Why is the box scales, such an odd scale? And I have a theory. And my theory is, and my first theory was, I thought it had to do with production, as in tooling. I thought maybe at the time in the 50s and the 60s that the when they cut the steel molds, were they a specific length? Because if you look at when Atlantis bought all the tooling molds, I tried to see if were they all the same size or anything like that. Of course, I don't know if that was the case back then, in the 50s and the 60s of tooling. But I have another theory, and I'm leaning toward that. And again, if I am wrong, please leave a comment in the comment section and tell me if I am wrong. But I have a theory, and that is, I think they're based off of what I like to call desktop models. And what I mean a desktop model is most of the model kits back in the golden days were all made of wood. And a desktop model is, and they're still made today, where they sit on the desk or on the shelf. They are to scale, but not either, just like box scale kits. And I assume, back then and before, computers and everything, they made kits out of, were made the masters, out of wood. So I assume they made the a desktop model, and I assume all those box kits are actually desktop models, just not, I know everyone wants their scales. I totally understand that, but for the I want to say simplicity, and even it does look like it. Even I think it's even a really a good scale for the desktop models. So again, I have a theory that I think they're modeled off the desktop models. And the only other reason why I come up with that is if you look at old kits, they always have, you know, 1/4 inch scale equals 1 inch, you know, or something like that on boxes. So I assume, you know, all the old kits back then, you know, were made, you know, balsa wood and or wood kits in general. You know, they always were scaled out that way. So, and again, I could be totally wrong. It's one of those, the more I got into model building and having all the different scales, I have more appreciation for the box scales for what they are. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I got going on today. My my little theory on box kit model kits. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I got going on today. Stay tuned for the next exciting episode.